We've all played with them, we all love them, and we've all learned something from them, however simple it may be at some point in our life. But when was the last time that you looked at a Lego brick and thought, you know, there's a really interesting lesson here about the intrinsic nature of the universe. Now, I know this sounds ridiculous, but bear with me. I believe it is possible for us to use toys to learn philosophy. So get out your toy boxes, everyone. It's playtime. Time to learn about the complex world of philosophy through 4 classic toys we've all played with as a child. We shall begin our playtime by examining the Lego brick. According to Lego.com, the now iconic Lego brick was created in 1958. Lego has got to be one of the best designed toys, the way that all the bricks fit together so seamlessly. Right now, I can easily separate and reattach this brick. Additionally, Legos have no limit as to what you can be able to build with them. This red brick here, for instance, could be part of a car one day, and if we got tired of that, wanted to shake things up a bit, we could use it instead to build a helicopter. Furthermore, Legos are the perfect toys for children to play with, as they are virtually unbreakable. Except for this one. Put that away. No. It's hard to imagine what could make this any more fun. Oh wait, I remember. It's philosophy. According to Justine Gardner, in his philosophy textbook Sophie's World, the Lego brick pretty well outlines the building blocks of matter, as envisioned by Democritus. Democritus believed that atoms fit together with hooks. Additionally, he believed that atoms would not always be part of the same molecule. For instance, an oxygen atom could be part of a water molecule one day, and an ozone molecule another. Additionally, Democritus believed that atoms cannot be broken down into smaller parts. However, just as I have been proven wrong in my belief that Legos cannot be broken, Democritus was also wrong in his theory that atoms cannot be broken. Today, science has advanced to the point where we cultivate our ability to break down atoms into nuclear power, or even the nuclear bomb. Perhaps philosophers would have known much sooner about the basic philosophical implications of atoms, had they been able to play with our iconic Lego building blocks. As we reach deeper into our toy box, we pull out Play-Doh. Just as with Lego, Play-Doh can be used to make virtually anything our mind lets us imagine. Or we could just display their creativity and use a mold like this one to make chickens or whatever else we want. Ironically, the toy Play-Doh fits perfectly with the philosophies of Greek philosopher Plato. Now, I'm sure you knew I was going to say that, but the similarity goes beyond the name. For Plato, it all started with one simple question. Which came first, the chicken or the idea chicken? Plato had an interesting belief. According to R.C. Sproul, in his book, The Consequences of Ideas, Plato believed that the world we live in is only one of the worlds in existence. Indeed, there is an alternate world of ideas. If we were to somehow enter this world of ideas, we would see the perfect representation of everything we see in our world. This is where things get a little bit weird. Plato believed that the objects we see in our world don't really exist, but are rather just imperfect copies of those things in the ideal world. To illustrate this somewhat complex thought, let's look again at Play-Doh and our chicken mold. This chicken mold represents the ideal chicken in the world of ideas. And each copy of the chicken I make, or have already made, represents the chickens we see in our world. Each copy of the ideal chicken has slight differences in comparison to it, as well as slight differences in comparison to one another. According to Plato, this is how all the objects in our world operate, both living and non-living, explaining the similarities that things like chickens would have to one another, as well as all of their differences. For one of our youngest toys, we reach into our toy box for our oldest. The yo-yo's history is not fully known, with some theories putting its invention all the way back in ancient Greece. Regardless of when or how it was created, we can all remember playing with the yo-yo in its iconic fashion, namely pushing it down and then pulling it back up. Now, if you'll excuse my teasiness for a moment, just as you have done thus far, we can all experience the yo-yo of life as we go through ups and downs. Specifically, what I mean when I say ups and downs is happiness and suffering. Most of us would say that happiness is good and suffering is bad, but of course, some philosopher disagrees. According to Brian Weiner, professor of philosophy, Friedrich Nietzsche, a man whose beliefs are second in controversy only to the pronunciation of his name, believes that happiness and suffering are neither good nor bad. Furthermore, he believes that suffering is only what we make of it. Nietzsche writes, "To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." This decision to find meaning in everything, including suffering, forms the basis of Nietzsche's Superman. Not Clark Kent, but a man who is superior to other men because he creates his own morals and creates his own meanings in a life full of catastrophes. Now, of course, Nietzsche's ultimate conclusion is wrong. But does suffering serve a greater purpose? Well, sometimes. For instance, if there were no ups and downs in your lives at all, you wouldn't be, as Nietzsche would say, surviving. Additionally, Nietzsche was right about one other thing. What we make about our little yo-yos in life does indeed make a difference. Our next and last toy, the Slinky, was created accidentally. According to MIT, during naval experimentation by Richard James in 1943, a tension spring fell. Richard was amazed at how when the spring fell, it walked down. The rest is, as they say, history. No matter our age, we can enjoy playing with this accidentally created toy by extending it in infinite proportions, bending it in numerous ways. And of course, that which made Mr. James notice the potential in the first place, walking it downstairs. The ways in which we play with the Slinky are very similar to the way Einstein viewed time in his theory of relativity. According to Einstein, time can expand and bend as a Slinky can. The attribute of the Slinky and walking down the stairs does not directly relate back to Einstein's theory, but is still pretty cool. But then you might be wondering, what does this have to do with the price of tea in China? After all, I did promise you philosophy. Well, here you go. Einstein was greatly influenced by the German philosopher Ernst Mach and his positivist philosophy. Indeed, Einstein stated, "It is justified to consider Mach as the precursor of the general theory of relativity." Mach believed that for knowledge to be real, it had to be experienced firsthand. In other words, we should not assume anything that we have not seen with our own eyes. As an extension, just because we have seen a similar process work a particular way once, does not mean it always works exactly the same way every time. To illustrate this, just because you have seen a Slinky walk down these boards here in the past, does not mean that it always works precisely the same. See what I mean? Furthermore, in the same way, Einstein believed that although we always see space and time work in the same manner, that does not mean it always has, nor always will, work that way. According to Stanford University, Einstein's theory of relativity was centered around the belief that laws of nature are just a retelling of what we have observed, and as such, is ultimately based on philosophy. So concludes our playtime today. From Lego to Slinky, toys are greater than they seem. Today, we have gone on a journey revisiting our childhood and the toys we played with, and realizing there is more than meets the eye. Just as children develop their mental faculties by playing with these absolutely fantastic toys, we adults can develop our philosophical side. So if next time you or someone around you starts playing with these classic toys, you remember just how ingenious they are, and what great philosophies are behind them.